Welcome everybody to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake and I'm so glad that you're able to join me. Now today we're going to be talking about how to nurture your child's natural superpowers while building character and building more purpose into what they're doing. Like really focusing on raising confident kids who know their gifts, know their superpowers without any sort of pressure that goes with that. So we're going to be diving into this, honestly, one of the biggest questions that I hear from parents, especially those who are like maybe feeling tired or unsure and are just trying their best not to screw the whole thing up with raising kids. You know, it's this question of like, how do I raise confident kids who actually know their gifts without pushing them too hard or raising some sort of like ego monsters? You know, and if you've ever been caught, you know, maybe lying there awake at night, you know, wondering like, am I doing enough? Or am I accidentally putting too much pressure on them? Or how do I help them shine without making them like perform for love, making them feel like they have to perform for my love or anything like that? Then this video is going to be for you. Maybe you're the parent who scrolls social media and feels like, you know, that quiet pit of the stomach when you see other families who look like they've got it all figured out. Or maybe you're like I was, you know, standing by the sideline at a soccer game, silently comparing my child's effort to, you know, others, wondering if I should cheer louder or back off. Because the truth is, like, most of us like grew up in these environments that are tied our value to some sort of performance, and without even realizing it, we start recreating those same patterns in our kids. And so I want to help you to unpack those things today. Like I mentioned, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. It's available on Amazon right now. You can get it for anywhere from $2 to $10 based off if you're doing like the Kindle versus the actual book. I'll put a link in the description where you can go get access to it. I highly recommend you go do it. It's the best $2 to $10 you could invest in yourself. Since going on Amazon, it's become a bestseller. Like just this weekend, it hit #1 again in the best-selling category, and it has tons of 5-star reviews. And what people love about it is, #1, that everything in the Giver Method is grounded in my story. I'm a parent. You know, I've got 3 kids. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in that corporate environment 9 to 5, grinding away. And so everything that I cover is grounded in paths where I've walked similar paths to you. It also is grounded in, like, you know, with some amazing exercises, action items. Every chapter has something very specific that you can go do to implement that thing. And it fits for busy parents and entrepreneurs or people working, you know, grinding away. Like, it's meant for people like you. So go get yourself a copy. I'll put a link in the description where you can get it on Amazon, or pause the video, go to Amazon, get yourself, like I said, $2, $10. Like, why not? That's some of the best money you can invest in yourself to live a more fulfilled life, create more value for those around you, discover your own gifts and superpowers. Like, it's absolutely amazing what it can do for you, and even how you can translate that to your children as well. And so, like I said, go get yourself a copy. Like I said, people love it when it's grounded in my story because, like I mentioned, I've been there, you know, sitting on that sideline of a soccer game, wondering those things. Like, I did it. You know, it hit me hard. Like, when I was standing there just trying to be like, do I cheer? Like, do I need to back off? Like, I'm comparing my child and their performance versus their effort, like, and just wondering, like, what should I do there? And so it hit me really hard. Like, when I noticed, like, as that am I watching this through the lens of performance instead of just being present there for my son? And that's when I started to make a shift. I decided that I wanted to, like, I want to raise achievers. I want to raise leaders. I want to raise people who are trying to do more. But I also want to raise people, like, more importantly, I want to raise my kids to be givers. Kids who know who they are, what they're good at, and how to use those gifts to serve, not to prove something. Like, to serve others and create value for others. So today I want to walk you through these 7 real-life principles and strategies that will help you raise your kids who are grounded and confident, like not in any sort of comparison mode, who feel safe enough to explore their strengths, who connect their gifts with something bigger than themselves. Once again, this isn't about you becoming the perfect parent. Like, that doesn't happen. You know, it's about creating what I call, like, these gift-safe environments, you know, where your home, you know, is where the kids feel seen and supported and feel like they could grow into who they already are underneath all of the noise out there. Every principle is rooted in the Giver Method. You know, that's my framework for helping people, both young and old, discover their gifts, develop them with purpose, and create meaningful impact in their families, in their work, in their communities. You know, so if you want to dive deeper into that, like I said, go get the link in the description. Go check it out on Amazon. Get yourself a copy of the Giver Method book. You can also check out, there'll be a link to thegivermethod.com where you can learn more about the ways we serve people, some of our other resources, join our newsletter, things like that. Now, if you are looking for maybe more of that, you know, one-on-one attention. You're a parent who's been carrying the weight of this alone, and you want someone to guide you who understands that overwhelm and the heart behind it. Then I've opened up a few coaching slots, one-on-one coaching things. You can check out the link in the description for coaching and learn more about that. And if it makes sense, book a call. Now, if you run a group, a community, an event, a podcast, whatever, and you would like to see this, come to your audience, you'd like me to bring a similar message to you, then check out the link for Speaking and Podcasting, and we could talk about what that looked like to bring this to your audience. And of course, if you like the video, or go ahead and like it, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any of the future videos we have, and comment your thoughts along the way, what your takeaways are. I love doing that. I love giving to people and reading what they say and giving them more value along the way. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into these 7 different principles and steps that could completely shift how your kids see themselves in their strengths and their purpose in the world. So let's start. Let's dive in. Let's go for this. The first principle or strategy, I refer to it as the show it, don't say it. Okay? The modeling over lecturing your foundation. This is how your growth journey and where you are builds their confidence. Because if we're going to be real for a second, as parents, let's just get clear, we're not trying to prove anything to anyone here. Your kids aren't building confidence from the speeches that you give them about being brave, or trying their best. They're watching you. Are you being brave? Are you doing your best? All day long, how you show up, when you win, how you react when you mess up, how you talk about yourself when things go well, how you talk about yourself when things didn't go well. They're going to look at you. They're going to model what you're doing. That's where their belief in themselves is formed by watching you. Most of us are trying, we tried to be strong for our kids. We clean things up before they see the mess. But, we downplay any of the stress or the fear that we're carrying. We think that we have to have it all figured out before we can guide them forward. But here's what I learned, both from my own life and working with tons of other parents. Your kids don't need you to be perfect for them. They need to see you in the process. They need to see you figuring things out. Some of the best conversations I've had, especially with my oldest son as he's in high school now, is diving into lessons hey, but I don't want you to experience what I experienced. Here's what I went through. Here's what the struggle I had there. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help build you up and seeing his eyes light up oh, you did that? It changes things, And so when they're watching, and they're watching you try something new, even if you're unsure, that's what gives them permission to try new things too. When they see you fail and not fall apart, when they hear you reflect instead of retreat, they realize oh, growth isn't just this one-time thing. Even grown-ups are still learning and growing. And so how do you live this out? How do we make this a reality? So my first thing would be start simple. Share something you're learning about right now, even if it's messy. Maybe it's something at work. Maybe it's a hobby that you're just starting. Maybe it's figuring out, maybe your own gifts again. And say something man, this is harder than I thought it was going to be, but I'm glad I'm sticking with it. That's more powerful than any pep talk. At dinner, you don't just talk about what went right. Talk about what stretched you. Let them hear about the project you're nervous about, or the thing you're practicing, or the mistake that taught you something new. What were those growth moments you had that they could learn from? And then when you're in the middle of a hard thing, say it out loud. Man, this is tough, but I feel myself growing as a part of it. Once again, that single sentence rewires how they see struggle. Because they're building their entire internal narrative watching you. The data and research out there about parenting shows that 70% of a child's relationship with their own abilities come from how their parents modeled growth. Not what they said, not what they were told. Not what's written on a wall, just by modeling what they see. Your actions are the message. You don't have to be the finished product to raise confident kids. You just have to be real. And when you show them what it looks like to grow, not perfectly, but honestly, you give them the gift of knowing that they can do the same. Now, our second strategy or principle is, praise that builds confidence, not pressure. So this is about character first affirmation, creating a framework around that. How do you affirm your kids without creating approval addicts? Something that trips a lot of well-meaning parents up is we want to raise confident kids, right? And so we pour in praise, man, you are so smart. You're amazing. You're the best at this. But there's a catch. Like there's something that we get caught up in that. Like there's research out there that shows that like this kind of praise actually makes kids less confident in the long run. And why? Like because when we constantly tell them how talented they are, you know, they start trying, like connecting and tying their identity to those labels. You know, when they hit a wall, you know, when something doesn't come as easy, they think, wait, maybe I'm not smart. You know, or worse, like if I fail, I won't be the amazing kid anymore. Like those are realizations that kids have. They may not say it out loud, but it's how their brain is processing things. And here's a shift that you could do that will start to change things for you. Like when you are start praising effort, character, how they showed up, not just how they performed. You help them build confidence that actually sticks long term. So rather than saying like, hey, you're smart, like you could just easily be like, hey, I love how curious you were. And you kept asking questions and you went to figure it out. You've got some real gifts and superpowers in like just staying curious and figuring things out even when you don't know the answer. That totally shifts the perspective. Or think about this, like you're a natural athlete. This comes a lot with kids who are athletes. Like you could definitely shift it up. Like, hey, I saw how you encouraged your teammate when they messed up. You know, and like that shows real leadership. That shows compassion. That shows empathy. That shows you cared enough to like hit on those points. Like what was the underlying gift or superpower you saw, and praise that thing, show them that thing, and explain like how they can continue to look for that. Like that shifts it for you. Now, here's a practice that will work wonders. You know, spot the stuff that no one else sees. When your kid is kind to their sibling, or they stick with something that's been hard, or they try again after failing, point that out, not in some sort of dramatic way, but just notice it. Hey, I saw you helping your brother earlier, and that kind of patience is a gift, and I want to thank you for that. You know, you can even make it part of your daily rhythm where at dinner or bedtime, like, hey, what's something that you worked hard on today? What's something that you did that, you know, that no one noticed? Or what's something brave you did, even if it felt small? That's character spotting. That's like, it's a complete game changer with your children. Like you are showing them what really matters isn't just what they do. It's who they're becoming as a part of the process. Because when your kid believes that their value comes from their like character, not just from their achievements, they don't fall apart when things get hard. They try new things, they bounce back, they grow stronger even when no one else is watching. That's real confidence. Not the kind that needs applause, the kind that stays with them like and stays strong even when it's silent. You know, and that starts with how you choose to speak, you know, into their story about what they're doing. Now, the third principle of strategy is like this idea of let it be messy at first. Like you have to create gift-safe environments. You know, create environments where your kids' gifts can actually breathe. They don't have to be perfect yet, because it's an easy trap for us to fall into as parents. Is we're turning everything into a lesson. You know, they build some sort of a Lego tower, and suddenly it's a STEM opportunity. You know, they start humming a tune, and we're looking up like piano instructions. You know, or they're curious. You know, they ask that one curious question, and we launch into this full like TEDx talk about it. Like, what we mean well. I mean, we all do. We all try to do our best, but the truth is, pressure kills curiosity. Your kids' gifts don't need to be measured or compared or maximized. They just need room to breathe. Some of the most powerful strengths don't show up in structured settings. They show up in the in-between moments, in the messy moments. When no one's watching, when they're tinkering and daydreaming and exploring, when there's no right answer to get, there's no adult hovering nearby, there's no great job waiting on the other side. That's where growth is going to happen so much for them. And so here's a shift. Instead of creating these pressure zones, build the freedom zones. And that might mean an art table that, is always stocked but never graded. It might mean letting your child build and design and mess around without turning everything into some sort of a learning moment, right? Or letting them just discover what they're actually drawn, what they're drawn to when no one else is filling time for them. Once again, we don't need to label it as a skill in any sort of way. We don't need to turn it into a performance. We just need to protect the space where play leads the way for them. Now, something small that makes a big difference, all right, is watch how you talk when they're in that discovery mode. So instead of wow, you're better than your brother, hey, I love how you focused on, I love how focused you are right now on this thing, or hey, you really seem to enjoy figuring this thing out, because That's the magic, when the gift starts to surface, not because someone asked them, but because they felt safe enough to show it. Like, and when they fail or they get frustrated, we don't rush to fix it. You just sit with it. Like, sit with them in it. You know, and it might say something like, hey, look like that didn't work. What do you think you would try next? These simple shifts, they teach us that the mistakes, that they're not dangerous. They're just part of the map. Because like your kid, like when kids feel like every interest has to lead to something bigger, some achievement, whatever, they'll either fake it to get applause or they hide it away because it feels too risky. But when the pressure's off, their real strengths start to rise. Like their energy just starts to go up and leads where they're at. Their wiring like shows up. And their confidence grows from the inside out, not because you told them they were gifted, but because they finally got the space to discover themselves again. You know, so keep this in mind. Gifts don't need a spotlight to grow. They just need room. When you create space, the best stuff, honest, authentic, and surprising stuff, like starts to come alive for them. Now that takes us to the fourth one, which is like there's this service connection. So how you go from like, I'm good at this to like, who can I help with this? Like I want to help kids use their gifts in real world impact, not just for approval. Now this one here, like it shifts. It's, if we could ever use the term game changer, which I do use a lot, but like this is one of them. If there's one shift that can completely rewire how your child sees their abilities, it is to stop treating their gifts like trophies and start treating them like tools. Instead of like, you're so talented, try like, well, how could that help someone else? You know, or how did it feel to use that gift to make someone else's day better? And this pivot changes things for people. It moves the focus from a performance to a purpose, from self-promotion to service, from like, am I good enough to like, okay, who else can I support with this? Who else can I help with this thing? When your child sees, like, they start seeing their natural strengths as something that they can use instead of something that they develop like this humble confidence. They own what they're good at, and like, but not in a showy way. You know, you don't need to constantly praise or compare them to other things. They just want to get better, you know, so they can improve more. And so there's a mindset there like that's going to stick when life gets tough. Like it protects them from perfectionism. It protects them, like it keeps them from measuring their own worth by applause or by social media, you know, reels. It gives them a reason to keep growing even when no one's watching. And so let's talk about how we make this real in our homes. Like, so start by asking just better questions. You know, when they did something great, don't just celebrate it. Like we celebrate it, but ask like, you know, how do you think that helped someone? You know, what part of that made you feel proud? And let them connect the dots between their gifts and their impact. You know, and then of course you can also set up these simple service moments. You know, if they're organized, let them help plan out something, a family event, a donation thing or whatever. If they're creative, let them design some thank you cards for neighbors or friends. Let them help you be creative. If they have a knack for helping younger kids, like see if they want to support other family members or a sibling or a family friend. Like here's another way that you could look at it. That's a very small and really powerful routine. Like every few days, just casually point out where you saw their gifts in motion. Like you really explain that with lots of clarity. That's a huge strength for you. That's super helpful when you're helping other people. You know, or you have a way of lifting people up when they're down. Like I know that helped Dad today more than like you know. Like these moments, they build identity. And if you want to take it further, share stories, the real ones, of people who use similar gifts to make a difference, whether it's family member, someone in the community, someone that they admire, and let them see the path. Let them see the potential, the legacy, because the truth is like kids who see their gifts as something to give away, not to protect, they grow up more resilient, they grow up more grounded, they grow up more driven to do more. You know, they're not chasing applause, they're chasing impact. And that's the kind of motivation that's going to last. So the next time that your kid's like using one of those natural strengths, don't just praise them for it. Invite them into the bigger story. Who else might need this? You know, what could this unlock for someone else? That's where the gift becomes more than just a skill. It becomes like their purpose. Now, the fifth one is like turning that maybe I'm failing into I'm growing, helping kids really build confidence through the hard parts and the failures and the slip-ups and the struggles. You know, something that trips up a lot of gifted and talented kids, honestly, it does to adults too, because I have to talk about these same concepts with adults. Like, it's the moment when something they're usually good at suddenly gets hard. You know, they're naturally an artistic kid, you know, and it hits, you know, they hit a technique that, they can't quite figure out. You know, they're a leader who tries to rally groups that no one's listening. The kid who picks up math easily but stares at a problem sometimes and feels stuck. And they get that thought that sneaks in, what we've all experienced, like, maybe I'm actually not good at this. Now, here's the truth, like, here's some big things around this, like, you've got to help them to see, like, the struggle isn't a sign that your gift is disappearing or that you're not good at it. It's just proof that you're growing. And the more naturally gifted someone is, the more they're going to hit those moments that stretch them. That's not failure. It's just that you're developing. And so here's how, like, think about it this way, like, you can help your kids handle those bumps without questioning their whole identity by doing a couple different things. Like, you could help them change the story around struggle. Like, when something gets hard, say, yeah, this is what growth feels like. Or you're not stuck, you're leveling up. Sometimes that's just part of life. Let them even know, like, the best musicians hit notes that used to trip them up. The most brilliant problem solvers get stumped. It's not that it's not the end of their gifts or that they don't have it. It's just they're moving into the next chapter that's going to be a little bit more difficult. And then you could create, like, maybe challenge celebration moments at home when your kid pushes through something tough, even if it's like they don't nail it yet. Like, celebrate the effort. Hey, that right there, like, that's your gift getting stronger. Like, you're getting there, and we just got a little bit more work to do. And then, of course, don't forget to tell them stories where you share examples of people, yourself, your family, in history of whatever, in your own life, like, who didn't just coast on talent. They built something by going through hard practices, the hard parts, and figuring things out. And then, of course, like, you adopt the language of the not yet. Like, the not yet language is so huge for yourself and for kids. Like, if they, like, hey, I can't do this, but, well, you can't do it yet. Like, yet, that one word changes so many things because, like, it gets them thinking about it differently. Like, oh, I can grow to that. It rewires their brain based off of that. Kids who feel confident, when it's easy, end up shrinking when things get real. But kids who learn to keep going, even when their gifts feel stretched, like, they don't just develop skills. Like, there's a confidence that's totally unshakable that's built there, not because it's always smooth, but because they learn, like, they're strong enough to grow through it. And so if your kid is hitting a wall in something they're usually great at, like, it's not a red flag. That's a green light to lean in and speak life into it, into the process, and remind them that, like, this is where real strength gets built. And then our sixth one is, like, there's this comparison, going from a comparison to a collaboration mentality, even within your own home. Family gift ecosystems. How you build a family that works together instead of competes. Something that most families deal with, even if it's never said out loud, is comparison. Like, you've got one kid who's naturally good at math and another kid who's great at very creative. I've got that with my kids. Maybe a third who's a peacemaker in the group. I wish my third was that, but he's not. And without meaning to, we start keeping score. Who's better at what? Who's getting more attention? Who's the smart one, the creative one, the helper? Right? Like, those fit my three boys easily. And the thing is, like, when your kids grow up feeling like their worth is tied to something, how they stack up against their siblings, like, we miss, like, the magic. Because your family was never meant to be competitive. It's a team. Your child's gifts aren't supposed to make them better. Like, it's supposed to help make someone else better. Like, they're meant to bless somebody else and lift somebody else up. So let's shift the environment from the who's winning to, like, how do we all contribute and so this is the idea of, like, family gift ecosystem, where everyone's strengths can be seen and valued and used to support each other, where your gifts aren't ranked, but they're respected. And so you could do things like, there's gift shout outs, dinner table or in a car ride. Like, take a few moments, take 60 seconds or whatever, and just say, like, hey, I saw how you encouraged your sister earlier. That gift of noticing others is something that our family really needs right now. Or, hey, that you really thought through the plan today. Like, and you're amazing at breaking things up, and that's helped us a ton. You can even make it more fun, like, if you want, like, have a weekly habit where you pick one person each week and let the family, like, name a gift that they saw in action. Maybe there's you design some mini family projects where everyone gets to shine in their lane. Well, if you're going to organize a service project as a family, like, maybe one kid helps plan, maybe one's decorating cards, maybe someone's helping make people laugh along the way. Like, every gift matters, every role is needed within that, and it's important to point that out. And then, of course, the biggest one, which is cutting out comparison language. Things like, why can't you be more like your brother? Or your sister never struggles with this. Like, and I hope you're not saying those things, but it does happen. It creeps in. Like, instead, look for ways of being like, hey, I love the way that you think through problems. Hey, you've got such a creative approach. You always bring something different. Like, we're looking to just break away from comparison. And finally, help exchange culture, where you model your kids helping with something they're naturally good at. You've got a gift for organizing. You want to help me sort the cabinet? Let them feel how useful they can be with their gifts as a part of the family. And it matters. This matters so much because when your kids grow up in a culture where everyone's gifts are seen and celebrated, they stop needing to prove their worth. They know they belong. They know their strengths matter, even if they don't look like everyone else's. And they grow into adults. They value contribution over comparison. This isn't just about raising confident kids. It's about building a connected family that cheers each other on and learns from each other and leans on each other. And that's where some real legacies are going to be built. And our 7th one is I call it the story power. You shape your child's inner identity without creating a lecture. Something that gets overlooked but can be really impactful is the stories we tell our kids. Now, I'm not talking about bedtime fairy tales or animated movies, although those sometimes too can help along with this, but I'm talking about real life stories that that shape how kids see themselves in the world around them. So here's the thing: your kid is constantly absorbing messages about what matters, what makes someone valuable, worthy, successful. Most of those messages out there, they're around talent, image, being the best, going viral, whatever. What if we flip the script a little bit? What if the stories they heard were about resilience and character and using gifts to lift each other up, not just to raise them above somebody else? Because that's where things will shift. How you help your kids build this internal compass that's not about achievement but about authentic contribution. And so you can make story sharing a part of your regular rhythm with your kids. It doesn't need to be heavy or formal. Just bring it into every day. You've got a kid who naturally creative. Share a story about someone who used creativity to bring joys to others or to solve a problem that helped others. If your child's big in leadership energy, good. Talk to them about someone who didn't just lead with integrity but with a service in mind. And then better yet, make it personal. Tell your kids about a time their grandmother used their gift to make people feel seen, or their Uncle Joe turned his knack of fixing things in a way to help his whole community during a tough season. Whatever. Point out examples in real time, the neighbor who organizes food drives, the teen at church who volunteers without being asked. Hey, you see that? That's someone who's using their gifts for blank, whatever, their gift of this, their creativity, their this, their that, whatever, to help others. And then don't forget this, your story matters too. Tell your kids about how you discovered your strengths. Tell them about your setbacks, the awkward moments, the times that you didn't feel like you had anything to offer until you realized your gifts weren't just for you. Because stories build identity. That's it shows them what's possible. It shapes your child's view of their own potential. And when your kids hear stories connected to their gifts, to growth and service, they stop believing the lie that that talent is all that matters. They see character and contribution as real indicators for success. It helps them just understand that their gifts aren't something that you either have or don't have. It's or something that we want them to see it's just something that needs to be uncovered and developed and given away. So keep planting those seeds, telling stories about making room for what they're becoming. Remind them that greatness isn't about standing out, but about showing up authentically and generously with their whole heart, because that's the kind of story that sticks. Now, as we wrap this all up, and I hope this sticks with you, once again, you don't have to be any sort of a parenting expert for this stuff. You don't have to, you don't have to have everything right to, show up in this sort of way. What your kid needs most is you showing up, growing alongside them, and just being curious enough to keep asking, what might get buried inside them that the world needs right now? The things we walk through today, they're not rules, they're just invitations to shift the way that you think about praise and pressure and failure and success and service and compassion. They're simple mindset upgrades. When you practice consistently, gosh, you can change not only how your kids see themselves, but how they see others, how they can serve others. The truth is, our kids don't need to be the best at everything. They need space to become who they already are. And the wild part is that when we create these gift-safe, character-first, service-connected environments for them, we start healing parts of ourselves. We stop repeat cycles that we've gone into. We stop projecting our old wounds onto them. We stop parenting from pressure and we start parenting from purpose. And so now you pick just one of the things we talked about, any of the principles that we talked about. And no matter where you start, the goal is like the same, to raise confident and grounded, service-minded kids who like know that they're valuable, not because they perform, but because they show up as themselves. And if you want to dive deeper into this work, for yourself and gathering more ideas for how you could do this or for your kids, then go get yourself a copy of the GIVER Method on Amazon. The link is in the description. Once again, it's not just for parents, but it's for anyone who wants to wake up their gifts and make a meaningful impact without burnout or performance pressure. And I promise you, like, the more you embody these tools, the more your kids will soak them in. I said, if that's not worth the $2 to $10 to go get yourself a copy, I don't know what is. If you want direct help, like I've got a few of my coaching spots open that you can go check out, especially for parents navigating this kind of growth. The link's down in the description for coaching. And if you have a podcast, a stage, a mastermind, a group of parents you serve who you feel this message could help them, then reach out. I'd love to partner with you about what that could look like to bring this to your community. And before we go, drop a comment. Tell me what hit home for you. What shift did you see? And of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Every week I drop tons of content like this, and I would hate for you to miss out on any of that. And so here's to that, like, to raising kids who know who they are, who lead with character, and who believe in that their gifts aren't just something to prove, but something to share out into the world. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will catch you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day.